Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to the video that I had mentioned in in the comments of the Minecraft stream. Now, this is not actually a tier list from as you can see. It's actually going to be something entirely different. Now, I've got a visual on every weapon, as you can see, up to the date of even orb. Now, I'm going to first talk about the weapons that I enjoy playing the most and the least. Now, then I'll get into the weapons that I enjoy fighting the least to the weapons I enjoy fighting the most. Now, I'm going to be doing it least at bottom, most at top. Like, on both lists. So, honestly, if I'm going to do this, I probably will have like the 5 tiers will probably be fine. I might use 4, but if I'm being honest, the weapon that I enjoy fighting the actual least is honestly spear. Like, there's a couple of reasons behind it. I might move spear up based on the tiers, but it's based on the fact that it's kind of linear. Like, oh hey, you're gonna approach me from the ground, you're probably going to side light, and occasionally neutral light. And that, at first, doesn't sound bad, but then when they jump into the air, it's like, you're most likely expecting side air, or at lower levels, ground pound. Like, spear definitely has mix-ups, but my problem is really also how it plays. Just because it plays in one way. Like, I don't enjoy playing it or fighting it. This is the only one that will be consistent on the list. But to start with, the one I meant to say, like playing the least as well. But I definitely can play a character who uses spear. I just don't like how spear is. It feels like it doesn't have enough options. Like, Nair feels just that much worse than any. Nair is just feels like a bad move. It doesn't have enough to feel like it would be useful on spear. And I feel like Nair buffs would give it that enough of a difference that it actually would help. Even down air buffs would be nice. Not like knockback, but like maybe angle. Who knows? I don't know with the down air. But Nair, it's more or less just, it doesn't feel like they did enough justice on it for me to enjoy spear. But if I'm being honest with my next weapon, I don't enjoy playing. Like, there aren't many. Honestly, I think the rest of these weapons are not terrible, but I definitely enjoy most of what I do with these. But gauntlets is definitely an improvement from spear by far, but I feel like it's one of those weapons that I just don't enjoy nearly as much. The combos are read heavy like Scythe and Katars, but it's not the read heavy part that I don't enjoy. It's just that I feel like gauntlets get punished too hard for using one move that's a little laggy. And that's where I don't enjoy it as much as the other weapons. Like, gauntlets don't feel like they should be a slow weapon, and that's the problem. Like, they're a short-ranged weapon already, but they do have some fast options, which is nice. Like, I understand why some of the combos don't work. Like, oh hey, I'm going to just zero to death you for free if you make gauntlets too fast. That's really what would happen. So I understand some of the options being laggy, but it's like gauntlets feel a little slow in some cases. And I don't think they should feel as slow as they do. This is definitely just my opinion on them, and both of these lists will be of my opinion. I forgot to say that much, but I think it was pretty obvious that it was going to be my opinion because I said weapons I enjoy fighting with the most and ones I don't like fighting as much. Now, if I go to the next weapon, it's not going to be it's not going to be a surprise. Honestly, there's going to be a surprise in this because a lot of people won't expect me to say something that I will. Now, if I'm being honest here about this, bow. Not a tier below, but bow is honestly like I enjoy some precise things, but it feels like bow doesn't just doesn't know what if it wants to be a long-ranged weapon or a short-ranged weapon. And that's really not entirely a problem. Like, I don't think sidelight's bad. I feel like that's a fun move to use, but bow at times feels like it's hard to use, and then at other times it feels super easy. And it really just affects how I enjoy the weapon. Like gauntlets, I just am not good with. It's the difference. Spear, I'm okay with. I definitely could use spear, but I don't enjoy spear. And bow kind of is one of those weapons that I definitely still get enjoyment whenever I'm doing decently with it, but whenever I'm doing terrible with it, it's like I don't enjoy the problems it has. Like, the problems are really just something that are really hard to fix. Like, I don't think bow's a bad weapon by design. I just don't enjoy it nearly as much as some other weapons. Now, if I'm going through each of these weapons, if I said how good I am, I probably would put these three like either mid or lower in skill. Like, I can do stuff with gauntlets on occasion, and same with bow. But spear, I rarely get things going, and that's not entirely why I don't enjoy spear. It's more or less that I just don't enjoy doing basically the same thing over and over with spear. Bow kinda does do something over and over, but at least you can mix it up. And that's what I feel what makes bow at least better than dealing with spear. And gauntlets, it's literally like I honestly enjoy combos, but I don't enjoy gauntlet combos, is the difference as much. But that's just explaining why I would put these in these placements right now. But I'm going to honestly put other weapons in a moment. So, going into blasters, honestly, I just don't like the precision that's required for blasters. That's just really my biggest issue, but it doesn't make it to where I'm enjoying the weapon very little. That's just a problem with blasters, like that you really won't change for good reasons. Because if it had bigger hitboxes, it would be broken. And blasters are not broken right now, in my opinion. Like, I feel like they're somewhat overrated in a lot of cases. Like, they definitely are useful to have as a secondary weapon on your kit, but I just don't enjoy the precision on them as much as like bow precision. Like bow has full lines while blasters doesn't. It has like these circles, and I don't enjoy having hitboxes that are circular in that fashion. Like I'd rather have hitboxes that are from the player to another thing, to the end of the hitbox. I mean, kind of like how bow down air and neutral light are. But I do enjoy some of the combos that blasters have, but I'm not good at them. Like the only one I can hit is downlight recovery. Like that on blasters is very useful. I think I can get downlight side light and downlight side air, but those are like super easy compared to downlight recovery. And downlight side light's like low percent if I'm not mistaken. But blasters are just like, I feel like I just don't enjoy the precision as much, but I do enjoy how they feel whenever you're getting the hits off. Like the hits feel rewarding, unlike spear where it feels like they don't feel as rewarding on spear. Like every other weapon that I feel like feels like it has some sort of reward whenever you hit. But spear feels like I'm just doing the same thing over and over. Like that's literally it does not feel rewarding to do the same thing over and over like that. And yet one of the weapons I use has like a few things I do repeat, but at least I try to mix mine up. And I can change up how I play my weapon that I enjoy the most. Now, here's the one that will probably surprise you, and guitars. I used to use them a lot more, even though I didn't enjoy them as much. Like, they're not as good, and I've since switched back to axe, which I'll talk about later. And my problem with guitars compared to other weapons is that, like, yeah, you do a lot of the same things, but you also have multiple combos. It's more or less, it's like, oh, hey, you don't do much damage per hit, but neutral light really hurts how I feel about guitars, honestly. Like, the fact that it can drop if you dodge in, like, a 2-frame window, I think is what it is. It might be a 1-frame, which I wouldn't be surprised. Like, neutral light is just not a good move on guitars, in my opinion. And it really just is one of those things that hurts the weapon itself, in my opinion. And I like my weapons to have combos that are more consistent in every way. Like, yeah, you don't use neutral light as much because of the fact that it's not consistent. And let's just say that guitars, like, they feel rewarding, but they don't give much reward, so it's like, it's kind of like where I not getting much reward. Like, yeah, I understand doing less damage with them makes sense, but guitars are just not as fun as some other weapons, in my opinion. Like sword is definitely more fun. It feels a lot more rewarding. Like sword downlight into like any aerial is nice. Even recovery is nice. Like sword has a lot to do off of one move. Like downlight is probably sword's best move in my opinion, but then you go into guitars and it's like there's a lot of moves that are fun to use, but to chain them together is kind of hard, and the grind just doesn't make them as fun as they could be. Like, yeah, you don't want everything to be easy on guitars because then they'd be even more broken than what they were before. So it's like guitars are definitely in a good area in terms of actually how good they are, but how fun they are. I just don't enjoy them as like a combo weapon. Like I definitely think cannon and scythe are much more fun to play as combo weapons, since both of those are combo weapons. Now the next weapon I'm going to go into won't surprise many people, but it's cannon. Definitely more fun than guitars, but the combos are also a little hard at times for me. Like, guitars feel like they are easier combos than cannon, but cannon sounds and all of that just make it feel more rewarding, and I enjoy the rewarding sound at least a bit more. And cannon is like one of those weapons that you can just zero to death somebody easier than guitars. But I definitely enjoy guitars and cannon. I just don't enjoy them as much as many other weapons in here. And you'll notice that most of the weapons here are more of the heavier hitting weapons, which, yes, I know a lot of people think I would be a heavy weight. I'd play a lot of heavies in Smash, which I do not. I actually play more combo characters in Smash. And I feel like cannon is one of those weapons that is really fun, but doesn't. The combos just don't give me enough incentive to play it and have fun with it. Now, honestly, my least favorite of the weapons that actually feels like it would be a heavy weapon is hammer. Like, hammer's fun and all, but like the short ranged moves feel awkward at times, and that's really what gets me with hammer. Like, hammer is fun and all, it's just I don't enjoy some of the short ranged moves on it, and that's really the only problem I have with it. Like, side air feels really nice when you hit it, and it's at like the person's at like orange and it almost kills. Like, that feels powerful, but like downlight recovery on like Brawlhaven on blasters is something that feels even more rewarding than most of the hammer stuff. Which I know in Brawlhaven, downlight side air kills at orange, so that if you're at ledge. But there's a lot of other weapons that I would enjoy playing more. Now, then I'm going to get into the next weapon that, honestly, I would say sword, but we've got orb. Orb, like sidelight and downlight, pretty much are your best moves. And those two at low damage actually combo into each other, guaranteed. But then you've got downlight side air at like red that kills. And orb just like it feels like it would be a great zoning weapon, which it's designed to be, but it's short ranged, which is kind of weird. And that's really the actually here, hold up. There. This one's really just orb, I'd say. It feels weird to have a short ranged zoning weapon. Like, that doesn't feel right whenever I'm using it. Otherwise, I'd say this weapon would be probably one of my favorite weapons in the game. Now, next weapon to go into would honestly be lance. I almost put scythe there, but lance, like before I probably would have put it in like C or D. Like it used to have a lot of problems grounded, which is what caused me to not have fun with it, really. Like, yeah, they're still not true, but at least it's like I'm not getting punished as hard for wanting to play grounded. Like, yeah, there's things like, oh hey, Jigglypuff and Smash that I enjoy playing, but Lance didn't feel that like Jigglypuff and Smash idea. It like Lance is a slow weapon, and slow weapons you wouldn't expect to feel like Jigglypuff and Smash at all, which Lance didn't before, and even now it's not going to feel like that. And yeah, the aerials are still better than the grounded moves, but at least the grounded moves are usable and not busted. I had somebody who was trying to argue that the grounded moves were actually fine. And I feel like he didn't understand what was wrong with them. And Lance feels a lot more enjoyable because the grounded moves feel like you're less likely to get punished. And yeah, the hit stun really, I don't, it's the same problem I had with gauntlets, where some of my moves were like so slow that if I did something wrong, I was going to get punished. But at least Lance, if you miss something, yeah, it makes sense why you get punished, and it doesn't feel like I might get punished for hitting a move. And that's the thing, is when you hit a move and get punished, it feels terrible. Like, that's my problem with what Lance was. At like low damage, you might get punished for hitting somebody if you miss your move slightly on the next option, which you still get punished for it occasionally. But you don't get punished nearly as hard because your options are faster on the ground and your aerials are amazing. But if they're keeping you on the ground, it's like, oh, at least I don't feel like if I use a ground option, I get punished. And that was my biggest problem. Was, oh, if I miss the grounded option after hitting one, it doesn't feel as bad. Because it's like, oh hey, I just missed it barely. It's not a big deal. Compared to when Lance was hitting and it felt almost negative on hit. Which, if it was negative on hit, I would definitely put it like a tier below Spear. Like, it feeling almost negative was the problem with Lance. And then I'm gonna just talk about Sword. Like, I definitely would not use Axe and Scythe together, but well, actually I might, but Sword, it feels lopsided in some ways. Not like how Lance is, because Lance can't edgeguard, and one of the things that Katara's definitely edgeguard, and I just don't feel like I just feel Sword has that fun area of, oh, I can edgeguard really decently, and then I don't get punished for fishing as hard. But sometimes I just end up fishing myself, and it works occasionally, but you shouldn't really fish as much. Like, fishing for anything makes you predictable, and then you get punished for it, so that's one thing I need to work on. But Sword, it feels like Downlight is super fast, and it feels really nice to be able to throw out one of 4 options and it be pretty much guaranteed for all 4, and then have Ground Pound be a really nice option. I haven't tried Downlight Neutral Light before, but or Downlight Side Light with the Gravity Cancel on there, but I don't think those would be as interesting, or Downlight, which I don't think works, if I'm being honest. I know Downlight Down or Downlight Side Air works if you get the read, but why I enjoy Sword is that the options don't feel like they're unfair whenever they are being used, and the look the animation of it could like side light is like really weird, but that's really just one of those things where it's like one of those small animation things does change how it feels to use it. Like the weapon doesn't feel janky or anything. It just feels nice to use it. Unlike Spear where it feels terrible. Because I feel like I don't have a brain when I use it. Sorry, I was eating a cookie for a moment. But I swear people are gonna just say put that cookie down in the comments section at this point. But yeah, Sword just feels all around nice. Like Lance kind of feels all around nice as well. And these weapons right here just have some off things that feel a little odd, and then just or have something else wrong with like one move that messes it up entirely for me. But Scythe, not really surprising. It feels like Scythe almost feels like it would be a weapon I'd enjoy more than Axe, but it's hard to say a weapon I enjoy more than Axe because Scythe takes a lot of skill, and it's probably my favorite combo weapon that comes off of reeds. And whenever you get a really good Scythe combo, you feel great. Which is one thing that I would say about gauntlets, that yeah, you do feel great, but I don't feel as great getting a gauntlet 0 to death as I do when I get a Scythe 0 to death, because it's like you have active inputs, so effectively almost 2 entire movesets, and then you've got Katars, which definitely feel almost as great as Scythe whenever you get a 0 to death, but it feels like Scythe you have to get creative, and that's what makes it really interesting whenever you do one of those combos and get a 0 to death off of one combo. Like, it's literally you figured out what the opponent was going to do, and then just took it to a degree that felt so good that you'd want to do another one if you could, but it's not likely that you're gonna get another one unless you're Sandstorm, in which case I think he got 2 in a row, I bet, if I'm not mistaken. There have been times where he's done 2. But Scythe just feels so rewarding, and there's so much about it that I really enjoy the weapon despite not being as good with it as like Katars or Orb or even Sword. Like honestly, my Orb is silly. But most of the time the weapons I'm worse with I will put lower, but Scythe, even though I'm bad with it, I enjoy using it because of how satisfying the combos are. Like, I've seen some Scythe wall combos 0 to deaths, and those are silly, but they're fun. But Axe, let's just talk about Axe real quick. This is probably the most hated weapon in the game, but the fact that I enjoy it the most, it's really the fact that Axe is so simple that it feels great. Like, yeah, Lance and Hammer have some simplicity to them, but Axe, like, yeah, end lag's a thing, but Axe, it's just so satisfying to hit some of the things, like side air. A lot of people think that that move is, like, insanely easy to hit, but it's actually a very precise move. And it's like how bow down air's precision is. Quite literally, it's a very slim box, a hitbox that it hits. And that's what makes it so satisfying to hit Axe side air. And then hitting like Axe downlight is nice. Like, just hitting the moves is satisfying to me. And then it's like, I know that Axe ground pound is a little insane at times, but I feel like that's one of the more satisfying ways to like spike somebody in this game. And I just enjoy using each move, even if I end up missing some of the time. Like, yeah, I'll throw out a move, and this is probably the weapon that I have gotten the most kills on because it's that fun for me. Like, if I go over my Ragnar stats, I think it was 45% of my kills of all time are on Axe. And then, like, barely 30 because of Katars being broken at one point. I think it was barely 30 at this point. I think it's 32 right now. And then the rest are gadgets and weapon throws. In Switchcraft even I had some other things, but yeah. Honestly, this is where I'd put everything, but then I'm gonna honestly say, let's reset that really fast, and then Spear. Probably my least favorite weapon to fight. Now, I'm not going to say Katars are one of my least, because that would be kind of interesting to see. Because Katars are actually interesting to fight. But honestly, if I'm if I'm going for it, gauntlets are pretty terrible to fight. Like, it's not going to be the same throughout, but gauntlets, it's literally just the users that I fight do the same thing 90% of the time, it feels like. Unless I'm fighting like an actually good gauntlet player, in which case it's actually an interesting fight because I have to work my way back if I mess up. And I think one of my friends landed like a 0 to death on me, and it was like ridiculous for me because it was back when gauntlets were even better. But gauntlets, just fighting them, it feels like either they're narrowing a lot or sidelighting a lot, or doing both. And I don't enjoy fighting something that somebody does that. And this is like sidelight and downlight into side air is literally the most common thing with Spear. That is actually the reason I do not enjoy fighting Spear, is that it feels like they do the same thing. Like, I almost... Like, the only reason I would put gauntlets above Spear in this case is just because of the fact that I feel like Spear, no matter what tier you're on, does the same thing. While gauntlets, it's like you're running at, like, depending on what tier they are, depends on what they do. And let's just say blasters. Feels like these three right here are commonly seen doing the same things, like downlight spam, sidelight spam, downlight and sidelight spam, like straight up. And then you'll see at higher levels that this one also does downlight spam as well, and nair spam is really annoying. But I can deal with it, I just don't like fighting it. And then we get into blasters, downlight and side air spam. If not sidelight spam. I see a lot of spam on these three. And Lance actually would be up here. Axe players, honestly, I'm just gonna throw things into tiers real fast, just to show you where. Literally the bottom four I think are the exact same weapons, just in a slightly different order. And all of this is just because spam of like 2 or 3 moves. This one's like, these two will literally start with the same move. If not these, actually these 3 usually start with the same move. Cannon, I will put it actually where I think it is. Like, Lance would have been lower pre-patch, but honestly, if you notice, slightly modified. Like, some weapons are moved a lot and some weapons are moved less. But these 4 are just spam. Hammer, it feels like if you're playing a terrible hammer, it's annoying, but if you're playing like a decent hammer, it's like, okay, it feels a lot better because, yeah, they're going to spam not recovery down airs every so often, but they use a lot more of their moveset. But downlight sidelight spam is like the annoying thing that they do if it's like they're just trying to stay grounded, but most of them don't. And hammer feels great to fight because of that. Like, yeah, these weapons above it just feel nice to fight and don't feel samey. Like, yeah, Katars, you'd expect it to feel samey, but Katars only feel samey because players play them very similarly. But they don't actually play entirely the same. Cannon, yeah, the 0 to death is annoying that can happen, but I feel like Canon they use more skill based stuff than like these 4 that feel like they're brain dead whenever I'm fighting them. Lance used to be where all 4 of these are, and honestly, Lance, it's gone higher because of the grounded move buffs, and I find a lot more people using Lance in a way that at least feels a little bit less brain dead. Katars are just interesting because you'd expect people to do the same thing over and over, but no. Low level Katar players are stupidly annoying. Like, silver Katar players, I would not like to play them constantly because it's like side light, neutral light, maybe downlight, nair. I definitely used to do that a lot, and now I do a lot more. Like, I'll do down air, downlight into like nair or sair, or even another down air if I'm wanting to reset it. So, orb, yeah, they do the same thing over and over if they're like gold, but orb, whenever it's played well, actually feels nice to fight against. But like, these 5 are literally just the kind of weapons that you'll see a lot of the spam of the move if they're at a lower level, but once you get to like mid to high level, they start becoming a lot better to deal with. And then sword, it's like you don't know what to expect. Are they going to just spam downlight and side air? Not usually. Usually you'll see a lot more sidelight spam, despite that being worse. But axe, let's just say Sair spam is really why it drops on 1 tier on enjoyment of fighting. And a lot of this list has changed, but Scythe, it's like you don't know what to expect because every Scythe player plays it in somewhat of a different way, but it's like these three, you either they like axe and these other 5 weapons have very similar ways of being very uninteresting if you are fighting somebody who does the same thing over and over, in which case you just punish it either the same way or a little bit different each time. And that's the thing, is that if you're not constantly spamming the same thing, then I'm fine with however you play, which I've noticed that most weapons, it's literally just going to be a lot of spam from the same thing, but otherwise some weapons are more enjoyable than others, but spear just feels way too samey. Like, it's the reason why I don't enjoy playing it or fighting it. So, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.